Hi, my name is JHaller. I'm here with the Roundtable, and today we have a very special guest. We have Odyssey Eurobeat / Stebbins / Ken Glass / DNA Team / Mortimer / you have way too many names on the internet.
I collect them. They're like a little thing that I keep in my pocket.
Oh
Which one am I going to use?
You know, it's that. How do people keep track of you?
It's a good question. I don't know. I guess it's the same way Eurobeat fans have done for the last 20 or 30 years, which is still anyone's guess.
Okay, fair enough. So, first question. Now it's kind of a typical setup question, but at the same time, it's a very good introduction question. And
fair enough.
You've been asked it before, I'm sure, but
yeah.
Have you ever 1cc'd Perfect Cherry Blossom?
I've come so close. So very, very close. And it wasn't even on Lunatic. I'm a terrible Touhou player. I'll be the first to admit that.
Yeah.
I got up to Yuyuko, and then just completely bit the dust. Then again, I'm playing on a really badly made Mac port, so and there's another problem with me. I'm using a Mac to play PC games. Run them on too small of a monitor.
Okay, because obviously, obviously you were very big into the Touhou fandom. You've made a lot of remixes for them. I just want to ask, so how did that come about? Like, what about Touhou is it that made you want to do music remixes for the whole series?
Well, there was existing Eurobeat remixes of the Touhou series and whatnot, and I was already getting a little bit familiar with it as it was. You know, the music really lent itself to being remixed. I mean, the music is made well enough to where you can adapt it into just about anything. And given that Eurobeat's sort of my bread and butter, I kind of took a shot at it. In fact, one of the first attempts that I did at that was the Native Faith remix on my channel. It was just very quickly made, but sort of like a proof of concept sketch, if you will. But I had already enjoyed the games a little bit, and I'm like, let's give this a shot. Yeah. Before then, I was like, oh no, I can't touch a Zune composition. I would not be able to pull that off. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. I probably ended up bastardizing the thing to death. Just.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, how dare you? I don't even know what I'm daring you for, but hey.
Yeah.
But
it's there.
Okay, fair enough.
The effort is.
Because there are what, 6 Touhou albums out now?
Yeah.
You've had work almost. How many of those have you worked on?
All 6.
All 6.
At least one track on each.
Okay, so you were very familiar with that. Okay. Something else, I kind of like to delve into people's past more so, and it's a sin already. We haven't talked about Pony in the beginning of this interview, but something else that you did that you've been a part of was the Super Eurobeat albums. And basically, it's been around since the early 90s. It's kind of like a long-standing thing that's been going on forever.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with that, and what was that experience like?
Well, at the time I was just making music for fun. Now, this was back when MySpace was still an actual thing.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, look, I'm doing the music. I made really bad MIDI arrangements. Me English real good. Me go private school. I was just doing fun things there, and a Eurobeat producer. This was back when a few of the producers were allowed to go on MySpace and whatnot. Nowadays, it's slightly. The people in control of that are slightly less restrictive about social media and whatnot, but he managed to try to add me on MySpace. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's actually coming to my level. Oh my gosh, I'm going to accept it and peddle my songs to him as any fanboy would.
Right.
This producer is the one that produced Running in the 90s.
And what's his name?
He goes by Laurent Newfield. I believe his real name is Laurent Galmetti.
Okay.
He produced Running in the 90s, which we know as LOL Internet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, this is what I do. This is my stuff. Check it out. What do you think? They all fell flat, but it wasn't like a complete rejection. He's like, keep sending me stuff. I'm interested. Keep working on this and try to fix up the production, which, given my setup, was pretty much impossible at the time. But I ended up doing one called "When the Wolves Sing." It was a title that I had hackneyed together just very, very quickly. And he was interested. He's like, great, can you send me the MIDI and the lyrics and we'll get that together. A little over a year had passed, and he had ended up going to a summit with, I believe he's known as the AR that found NSYNC. I'm not 100% sure, but Vince DiGiorgio.
Okay. He
collabed with Vince to rewrite the lyrics, and he was going to put that out on his own compilation, Super Euro Freak, which was sort of a straight to iTunes and Amazon sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the people that put out Super Eurobeat, Avix, caught word of that, and they wanted the song for what ended up being Volume 201. And then from there, I started working with them a couple more times. And then as my own production started getting better, I started drifting away from that, started doing my own independent.
Yeah, so because again, like you were saying, like, oh my God, this is a person who a lot of people know I'm running in the '90s. Like that's oh wow, I would have the same reaction. You have that just fanboyish response, but So when you were working with him, and you have another work with another independent artist named Sugano, Japanese artist. When you're doing these collaborations and such, what are some of the bigger lessons you've learned when you've actually been working with other people on these songs?
Lessons, oh boy.
Lessons, tips, tricks, techniques, etc.
Don't assume that everyone knows English. That's going to be weird, but no, bear with me. Like, okay. In the Eurobeat world in particular, a lot of these people are in Italy or Japan.
Okay.
And granted, all the contacts that I've worked with do speak English, at least marginally, but it helps to understand a little bit of their deadline, where they're coming from, and some of the conventions of how they work with things. Yeah. And I don't mean just learning just English insofar as language-wise, sort of figuring out their work style and whatnot. Like my stuff with the Super Eurobeat stuff was a little bit more deadline-oriented. Finish it by this time.
Right.
Whereas with Sugano and with some of the Touhou stuff, it was. With a couple of exceptions, slightly more lax. Some of my stuff that was just with Sugano, that was just sort of a direct collab, that was a lot more relaxed. Actually, I gotta say, the Touhou stuff had slightly more strict, my grammar is shot, slightly more strict deadlines, so that proved to be interesting. For me, I guess the big lesson is get your work done, communicate, all the cliches I can.
They're cliches for a reason though, because typically sometimes they work. So hey, there you go.
Otherwise they wouldn't be.
So okay, we're actually gonna talk about something that people who are watching this video might be more interested in. That's the pony stuff, and that's I know you have a story behind how you got into it. So how did you get into making songs for My Little Pony and based on their songs?
Well, it is sort of the short of it is just that I remix what I like. But at the time, gosh, what was this? January, February 2011.
So very early on.
Yeah, pretty early on. Like not the earliest, but just the October prior, I had lost my grandfather, and it was my first semester living on campus. So I was kind of using my free time just looking up various cartoons to kind of dull out some of the pain.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is going emo real fast, but like at the time, I was into was it Panty and Stocking? I was into Batman, Spider-Man. And then I kept seeing all these posts. I was sort of more on the. I think I was on the A board at the time of 4chan. Board taste. My apologies. Yeah. But I kept seeing all these posts in a couple other places for ponies and whatnot, and they seemed like. It seemed a little bit like they were just joking around with it, and on the same token, some of them seemed legitimate enough. I'm like, wait. So I went sort of to check the source, and they were talking about it unironically. It's like, wait. This is the same group that usually talks about, Batman and Superman and, the big burly dudes in tights and whatnot. Right. In graphic novels, some of the more gritty, serious stuff. What are they doing with this show? And, I looked a little bit more into it, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem to be a joke. They found something they appreciate. One night, I decided to give it a shot. I put in my headphones, closed the door, no locking, but enough to wear no real suspects, and I gave the first episode a shot. I was actually unimpressed. Yeah, the second one, I bet it worked. And then the more I gave it a shot, I'm like, okay, I can enjoy this on on an entertainment level.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I can remix stuff a little bit. But that actually didn't happen until someone asked for the Flutter Guy vocals extracted from Evil Enchantress. And I thought I could do it. I had the technology. Yes. I can fix it. I failed miserably. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Can I just do a quick remix for you as a way to make up for it? I mean, I doubt the guy was too concerned about, my inability to get it out. But, and then I just kind of worked on just getting a weird dancing thing based around the general melody and put that out, and people were like, hey, this is pretty nice. Yeah. Is there going to be another one? Is there going to be Winter Wrap Up? And was that the same?
And then it started.
Yeah, and then I started posting more and more, and then at the time people were like, oh, do an entire album. And I'm like, no. Let's get everybody to do this. An entire album, that's too much work.
Right.
Let everyone else have their hand at this. And then I ended up finishing 2 albums worth.
How far you've come, sir. How far? No, it's pretty much the same thing, it's like the first episodes are like, this isn't going to be that good. This can't be that good. Yeah. All of a sudden,
I mean, it wasn't that bad.
No,
but it was like
exactly.
It was like I could go either way.
In terms of like, I don't know, to give my own first impression was just like, are they going to use the elements of harmony every time? It's going to be like Power Rangers every episode. Right. They're going to actually just use this and be the bad guy. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I think that was actually going to be the format in the earlier drafts, you know.
But then it turns out it's a slice of life type of thing, and it's very relatable. So hey, there you go.
Yeah. So oddly enough, I have a weird thing for slice of life. Like not too much, so they're not my full-on favorite. But I don't know. I occasionally I recently got into Nishijo and with that. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but like every so often.
Okay.
It kind of worked on that level.
All right. So you were one of the first musicians to make these remixes and songs. So afterwards, there was a huge outpouring of artists and songs, and I know for a fact people have credited you as the inspiration. So how does it feel to know that you've actually inspired people to make their own music?
It's a weird thing for me because like I kind of started doing this just for fun. It was like, hey, look, it's a remix and it's Pony and whatnot. But I've been the wording, I got to be careful with how I say this, but I've really been touched and blessed to see that people are taking what I'm doing, just being like impacted the way that they have, like getting people inspired. One guy, like fairly early on, just hit me up and was like, your music was what inspired me to, go to school to learn to like do audio engineering and whatnot. People were telling me just these crazy things, like, really? That was like just a thing I did for fun. It's like I couldn't be happier for these people, and like it surprised me the extent to which it's gone. Yeah. As for sort of the outpouring and sort of the inspiration and whatnot, I'm not sure 100% how to take it, because I do have some criticisms for the scene as it's been so far, but it's interesting to see. I mean, I'm still thankful that people are like, hey, thanks for sort of helping this get rolling along. It's like, okay, cool.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I may be, but you've just recently started doing these live performances with your music. This is something that you've kind of just done with these recent conventions. I think starting with Everfree, was it?
Yes, that was my first.
BronyCon technically, but you were helping out.
Yeah, I was helping with Alex and Two.
So now that you've had time, you've done a few of these, and how is it for you? Like how do you prepare for doing these live performances when before this you've been doing a lot of these, you're just making music, and you haven't been doing live, but how has it been just preparing for these live performances now?
If I had a consistent answer, I would give one, but it's been fascinating to figure out, fascinating and horrifying, because I don't really have a lot of precedent. There haven't been a lot of live Eurobeat shows here in the States. In fact, I think there's only been like one ever, like when Move came over, and they're kind of Eurobeat, kind of not. And I've chatted up a couple producers, like, how do you do a live? Well, we have 12 people on various instruments and whatnot, and a few of them are vocalists. I don't have this kind of stuff. I don't. I'm just one guy.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what to do and all this sort of thing, and I started looking into controllerism and whatnot, sort of the, and it gets a lot of flack for being sort of like DJ light. And I would like to learn how to actually work with turntables and whatnot, but, it seemed like a logical thing to do, because, play along with it a little bit. And then, I didn't want it to just be hit play and sing along, because that I could have done that, and it probably would have worked. But I like to have a little bit more play with the song, even if it does mess it up a bit. I mean, better to have that sort of element of actually sort of having some contribution beyond just singing to it. So first, I was just using main stage, literally just tracks with one instrument taken out that I play back in, and then I started looking into other things, and I started mapping, different knobs, different effects, started working with Ableton Live, just really expanding, and I'm still figuring out like how to get all that working. I'm hoping to eventually make the move to working with turntables and whatnot, but I'm still figuring out how to do it. It's been fascinating and fun and terrifying, and still learning, but I'm glad that it's worked.
Yeah.
So far.
That's what's keeping you engaged. It's like, it's not going to be fun or it's not going to be engaging unless you are learning something new and initially trying. Yeah. It's a risk, for sure, but you're putting yourself out there, and so far you've had, in my opinion, I was at Equestria when you did your set, and you did very well, as far as I could. Yes, I'm sucking up to my own person who I'm interviewing, but oh well. No, I really enjoyed that, and something else I enjoyed about you was the fact you played more, I think, non-Pony songs than Pony songs at your sets. I believe you did.
I think that's the state for tonight's set as well.
Yeah.
Can't say too much.
Okay, fair enough. Because you did a recent track on your YouTube channel just recently. Can you spoil that at least? Is that?
Oh yeah, the one that's if it's already out, then I can talk about that. Gone.
Gone.
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. That was sort of my reaction to doing too many remixes, too many other people's properties.
Sure.
And I have nothing against doing those, but there's a bit of a burnout that happens.
Right.
When, you have a lot of these creative minds, like working with other people's properties, and they'll also make their own stuff, but it kind of falls to the wayside because it doesn't have that thread with which people can relate. I mean, I can understand it, but it's like, no, really, they can do just as well without.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I had this stem for it, just sitting around for a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to flesh this out. I'm just going to make this how I want to do it, and just put it out there, and have one more track towards Pixel Volume 2.
Yeah.
And at the time, let's see, before I'd done that, I was just finishing up with Arena with Flim Flam Brothers. I mean, actually, the Flim Flam thing came a little bit before, a good while before I finished Gone, but like, we had talked about, hey, I might, it'd be cool to have you on one of my originals as well. And she was pretty enthusiastic about it. Bounced a couple of ideas and finally came to this one. I'm like, hey, would you care to sing on this one? She, a very enthusiastic yes. I sent her the lines and she delivered.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you already, you led into my next question, which was you have used Bandcamp as a way to get your Pony Beat albums out there, and also there was another thing you did called My Life as a Pixel Volume 1, which is original music.
Yes.
And so I was going to ask, have you already kind of already answered this question, but you already mentioned My Life as a Pixel Volume 2.
Yes.
So when is that going to come out, or when is that going to, how far in development is that?
If I can get the fire lit under my butt, then I should have that out by the end of the year.
All right.
I'm hoping to get it out, like, my deadline is sort of by New Year's. I would like to have it out before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, the sooner the better, but it's been difficult to find the time to actually, sit down and create new material or go back and fix old material that I want to include.
Yeah.
And sort of figure out the direction I want to go, because it's sort of been a fluctuating thing, It used to be just sort of a song salad, like the first one, where it's just kind of, I'm going to toss that in there. But now it's sort of like, well, I can really use this to express different things, to do different genres and whatnot. And so I'm sort of reevaluating. It was supposed to be out by the end of the summer. Yeah. And then I'm like, no, wait. I can see, I should be able to think about, where this is going to go.
Sure.
So,
well, more if you polish it, make sure it's right when it's ready. Kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure that it's a solid album instead of just hey, look, it's this song and then it's this song and then this one. It's completely different.
Yeah, no, the first one was very good. I like Cherry Blossoms especially.
Yeah, that one was that one was one of my favorites to work on.
It's a good one. You should go look it up. No, but kind of to switch up now. Not really switch up, but this is more of a general question now. Who are some of your more influential people you've looked up to in your musical career for, producing your own stuff?
For production?
Yes.
Gosh, just mostly the people that are in the Super Eurobeat series. Not a very inspiring answer, but just the way that it's been. Oh boy, you've thrown an unusual curveball my way by throwing it straight. I just for in terms of production though, because I haven't really looked to them for production. I'm just more in terms of how I produce or attempt. I've just sort of been like I've approached it on a more technical level. Sure. For composition and whatnot, I tend to go for more of a broader range of sort of the music I was brought up with. Like, raised around a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire, a lot of craft work, just a wide variety. Right. So like, it's an interesting thing. Like production, mostly the Eurobeat stuff, and a little bit of EDM sort of on the side. But for like composition, just making music, it's a much broader range. Okay. Now, something else I've seen you talk about occasionally on your posts or whatever is that you want to maybe experiment with different styles of music with your new tracks. Is there any other style or genre that you would like to try that you have yet to try out? That I have yet to try? That's a good question. I don't know. There's a few that I've tried before that I'd like to keep working with. Like, I tend to have a lot of fun just doing a jazz track just for the sake of it. I mean, there is the whole push by friends, family, friends online, people that I know, people I don't know, to start experimenting with the sort of dub and complextro sort of elements and whatnot. And I've tried a little bit of that, but I don't know, I haven't really thought about the question as of late. I've had enough trouble making my own stuff as it is. Okay. But I don't know, I haven't really thought about genre so much as just music first and then
Sure.
just kind of get.
I don't know if sometimes you just want to try something different, but hey, you're busy.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it'd be nice to make my own stuff first, and then I can get experimental.
Now, something else I've noticed that you recently had happen. This is over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You produced a remix to Zed, his Spectrum album, and you gave this to, I believe, it was Beatport.
Yes.
And your song won the community vote for that whole thing. So my question is, do you have any? I'm sorry. Do you participate in these community events often, or is this more of a rare thing that you did?
It was a pretty rare thing. I saw the opportunity, and I was definitely interested because I do like Zed and the whole Porter Robinson and a good chunk of the Ausla family, oddly enough. And I was interested in sort of seeing how that could blend. And I was already excited enough about the original Spectrum, then realizing there was a remix contest. I'm like, wow, I can work with a song I love and get it out there and get some decent attention and exposure, and possibly start working with musicians I really respect.
Yeah.
I mean, that last one kind of fell through, but like for the most part, it was like, what is there left to think about? Just do it.
Yeah.
I contemplated doing the one that followed with the Skrillex and Damian Marley one, but that one didn't quite click as well. But I'd like to do more. If I had time to do more and the ability to sort of blend those styles a little better, I'd probably do more of them, but there's a lot of factors in the way right now.
Okay, so let's say I'm a new person to Eurobeat and I'm interested in learning more about it. What are some places that I can go online to check out new stuff and just learn more about it and see if it's something that's for me as a genre of music?
That's actually a somewhat tricky question if you don't live in Japan.
Okay, fair enough.
The trick is for English speakers and whatnot. There's a site called Eurobeat Prime, and it has a forum called, I think it's just a forum.eurobeat-prime.com. Very informative. It's up to date on releases. There hasn't been a lot of releases though on the mainstream market. Excuse me. So news might be a bit slow on that front.
Okay.
But if you want to look back into the past, sort of see how the style has changed, whatnot, understand what it is, that's a good place to get some of the literature and even some lyrics and whatnot. To actually hear some, a little more difficult. There's a channel called Euro Lovers on YouTube that has a wide library of illegally uploaded full songs, but it's one of the only ways for Western ears to hear the full thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of albums on iTunes, but they're sprinkled in with stuff that's labeled Eurobeat that's really just very generic techno. And there's a couple of things on like Beatport and Juno Download, but those have to be kind of cherry picked.
Yeah, right.
Let's see, to hear more stuff. Oh boy. There is a compilation called Eurobeat Forever. I've contributed to both the first and the upcoming second one for that. That's mostly Western, like United States based, and actually just non-Japan or non-Italy based producers. There's a couple of Japanese producers involved, but mostly English speakers making Eurobeat, and there's some resources for that. I believe that can be found also on Bandcamp and things of that sort. Gosh, it's tricky because for Western ears, there hasn't been much done to reach the States and Canada and South America. It's been very self-contained, so the information is just starting to crack out, from its shell. And I'm hoping that it could crack a little more. There is room for this to actually have some appeal, even if just a niche.
Yeah.
If only they would just put it out there, which is part of what I'm trying to do in the first place. It's like, hey, there's a style, and it's fun. It's a little silly, but it's fun. But there's not much resource for people to know about it. But Eurobeat Prime. Actually, Wikipedia is fairly up to date on that as well. I believe there's like an official Super Eurobeat site that has some news. There is like a Eurobeat DNA blog that's run by a few people that actually work on Eurobeat. I think it's like a blogger site, like literally from Blogger. There's pockets, but there's not like a big wealth.
Okay. All right. No, it's still a good source if you are interested in learning more about it. I mean, the thing I think I told you this was that part of the fun part of like trying to gear up for this interview was listening to your stuff, and I'm actually kind of hooked on a few of your songs now. It's like I'm actually more interested in learning more about the genre now as a whole. So that's something like
My job is well done.
That's almost more of a personal question for me, and more so, but other people who might be listening say, okay, if I'm interested, I want to learn something else. So that's great.
Yeah.
And so the last question here we have sort of a tradition here at the Round Stable, and we ask every one of our interviewees this question. And okay, but do you have any other projects that you're working on that you'd like to promote that you can talk about? Anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, we have brought up My Life as a Pixel Volume 2. Do look forward to that. I hope that'll be out by the end of December. I'm working hard to get that done. I am working on Super Pony Beat Volume 3. Okay. You heard it here first. The first song for Volume 3 will have is a collaboration with a good buddy.
Okay.
You'll be familiar with him, although I hope it's not really pandering too much to the general listenership.
Okay.
But it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see. Volume 3, Pixel Volume 2, Giants 1, Angels 0. Other than that, there's not too much going on. Just sort of same old going on track.
Yeah. All right, so thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
And you can come to the Round Stable for more content like this, so thank you. Oh, thank you very much for Odyssey Eurobeat, who is good at picking up my interview questions. All right.
Literally.
Thanks. Later, guys.
Take care.